Welcome to another episode of Mindful Molly with me, Molly Kaluve, a space that challenges growth, self-awareness, and reflection in the most mindful way possible. I just want to say a big thank you to everybody for showing love and support to the podcast, sharing it, giving me feedback. I'm so grateful and I appreciate each and every one of y'all. Episodes will be dropping every Friday at 9 p.m. Kenyan time and 2 p.m. Eastern time, so look out for that. But without saying too much, let's get into today's affirmations. So on today's episode, I will be talking about time and the importance of living in the moment and staying in the present. So it is only right that our affirmations, as always, match what we will be discussing. So the affirmations of the day are: I have all the time I need. I am always at the right place at the right time. And the more I focus on the present, the more time I have at my disposal. So by now, if you have not noticed, the idea of this podcast is to really dive into and focus on how you can become more mindful and develop, a mindful, conscious style of living. And of course, in order to do that, one of the most important things in terms of mindfulness and consciousness is actually just being focused and dwelling in the present moment. So that's why today's episode is centered around the idea of time, past, present, and future, and just the way we have been taught and conditioned to think of time, as 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. And the truth of the matter is that time is nothing more than an illusion that's designed to differentiate, between past, present, and future. Because if you really think about it, the only thing that is real and the only thing that truly matters is now. The only thing that we have control over and influence over, which I've talked several times, in the episode about manifestation, even gratitude, is what we have now, what is there in the present moment. Because everything we think about, even if it's in the past, it was once the present. And what's in the future will eventually be, in the present. And therefore, to become and really embody the ideas and concepts surrounded by spirituality, consciousness, mindfulness, is to really embody and live and dive into the present moment and stop focusing on past, present, and future, Because a lot of the time when we start thinking about time, when you start thinking about what we've been taught time is, we're always complaining and talking about how we wish we could slow time down or speed it up. We have this idea that, time is fixed, and the truth of the matter is we actually do have the influence to speed up time and slow it down. And I know by now a lot of you are like, what is she talking about? And the thing is, what I mean by this is that literally time moves in regards to how we feel about it. And that's why a lot of the time we say happy moments, great moments, they move by very quick. And the bad moments, negative emotions, those moments where you're down, they seem to move slower. But that's just because your mind has interpreted and linked, such negative events to events that should drag on for longer. And yes, you are not confused right now, so stay with me. I will, clear it up for you guys, because I know, a lot of the time, even saying this out loud to myself sometimes also gets me like, yo, what? But I got y'all. Trust me. So like I said earlier, the past at one point was the present. And you can't go back in time. Probably shouldn't even be using the word time to change what happened. It's unchangeable. It's out of your control. It's already happened. It's an event that already took place. There's nothing you can do about it. And you also can't go into the future to change what might happen. So if you have no control, no direct influence on past and future, why do we constantly find ourselves worrying about these two, points? And the thing is, A lot of us, the root of our anxiety, the root of all our problems, negative emotions are things that either happened in their past or things we're worried about that might happen or might not happen in the future. Personally speaking, a lot of my stress, a lot of my anxiety, I mean, till this day, it comes from me thinking about past mistakes, things that happened, things that I did wrong, dwelling in, those type of scenarios. And even, a bit of it comes from me thinking about what if I do not amount to what I want to be in the future, forgetting that what I have control of and what I can actually influence is what I do now, what happens in the moment. Because at the end of the day, when I start to look back in the future, I'll be looking at what I did right now. This is what I will be stressed and worried about and overthinking and wondering what the hell should I do. It's all the things that I'm doing now. And therefore, if you're trying to really tap in to your true nature, to your higher self, you need to connect with yourself in the present moment, not dwelling on what happened before. And of course, just as always, I have the ways that you can do this, the ways that you can actually live in the present moment and be in the present moment. And that's because when you are in the present, you are more mindful. You're more conscious of what is going on around you, what is going on within you. You are more conscious about the people around you, how you influence them, how they influence too. You actually become more aware of what the true problems in your life are and not these perceived problems from your past or future. You learn how to deal with issues in the present moment and not run from them and actually get hands-on into your life and stop waiting for it to pass by. I think I talked about how, in one of the first episodes that majority people, by the time they hit about 24, they've missed about 21 years of their life. And that's because they're more focused on their past and the present that they actually stop paying attention to what's going on in the present moment. They stop paying attention to what actually is happening. And it becomes more of a lifestyle of reminiscing or trying to remember things than, things that actually happen in the moment, because we don't take time to experience them, but we take so much time to try to remember them. When, we would have saved ourselves, a lot by just looking and focusing and dwelling in the present moment. But before I go on rambling and talking too much, this is basically how you can start to live more in the moment and become more present. And the first is savoring. Now, savoring basically means, like I've said several times, being grateful, finding the beauty in the current moment, not thinking about the future, not thinking about the past. And the only time you're thinking about the past or the future is only when you have a proper reason to. And those reasons include stuff like, learning, things you've learned from past lessons. I do not like to talk about failures as failures. They are lessons, things you can learn more from. And, as well as understanding past success. That might be a reason to think about the past or, consider the past. Of course, you cannot erase it. It does play some influence of where you are now. But those are scenarios where you can think about the past. But apart from that, savoring and dwelling in the present moment and just being grateful and just embracing it is one of the ways that you can actually become more present within your life and, just, grow yourself in the moment. Apart from that, the other thing is unself-consciousness. Now, I know by saying this, it sounds very contradictory to all that I talk about, because I do talk about self-consciousness and understanding yourself and, all of that. And then I come on and talk about unself-consciousness. But what this means is actually being less critical about yourself. A lot of the time, and one of the greatest examples I see over and over again in discussions about unself-consciousness is dancing. A lot of the time people, when they go out to dance, when they're, dancing, me included, I do dance, I'm always thinking about the fact that I might look awkward, that I might be doing things wrong. And that's simply because I'm dwelling on my performance. I'm dwelling on how well I think I am doing things or how well I should be doing things. And, that also brings around a lot of anxiety, because just being that critical over yourself, you don't let yourself actually experience the moment. You don't actually let yourself just dive in and be part of the present, because you're thinking about, without even realizing it, the future outcome of whatever you're doing now, or past experiences that may have been linked to such an activity. Apart from that, the other thing is breath. Now, the easiest way to bring yourself back to the present and really be in the present moment is to focus on something that you're doing in the present. And we are constantly breathing. I mean, if you're not, I will be seriously concerned, but we are constantly breathing at all times, So if you're trying to bring yourself back from, a train of thought that led you to think about your past or your future, just focus on your breath. Think about what you are doing. Think about the current action that is taking place. And the thing about breathing and focusing on breathing is it's something that's so centered within you that it actually silences your mind. And that's why a lot of the time when you're doing yoga practices, dealing with your chakra and all of these energy balancing activities, one of the key factors is to focus on breath, because it brings you to the present moment, which is, where you are in your, space or moment of meditation. And that's actually what helps you develop that state of mindfulness and consciousness when you're, doing your certain practices, whatever that might be. Now, the other thing is flow. Now, this is thing this is the fourth thing. So when I talk about flow is just losing yourself in the moment. And as corny as that sounds, as, 1990-something movie type activity as that might sound, if that even made sense, flowing is just actually choosing to get lost in all the things that you do. It's literally losing the sense and the idea of time. Because I don't lie, time just comes with a lot of stress. Time comes with, I didn't finish this by then. I've not achieved this by this age. And that's where a lot of us get a lot of our anxiety. That's where we actually become more critical about yourselves and ourselves. So flowing is just the ability to get lost. And you can actually plan when to get lost in things. As much as that sounds like what the hell? But it's the truth. If you decide that today I will spend, not spend, but I will at this maybe time or around this. I'm trying to find a way not to mention time, but look, it's strong in my mind right now. You can choose to get lost in whatever you're doing. I choose to get lost in my art. I choose to get lost in my work. Really engage and dive deep into it, because that's keeping me in the present moment. I'm not thinking about what I really need to do in the next 3 hours or so. It's more of what I'm doing now, and that is all that matters to me. And it actually, for those of y'all that are trying to increase your performance as an athlete, as in your business, your art, it actually enhances your performance, because you've removed any type of outside distractions that are linked to time, and you're now just in the present moment. No problems, no, stress of thinking about what you haven't done, what you need to do kind of thing. You are just engaged and very present in the moment. Now, the other thing is acceptance. Now, acceptance, I won't lie, is one of the harder parts. It's one of the things that proves to be challenging a lot of the time. And what I mean by acceptance is accepting things as they are and accepting things that happen. A lot of the time, this word time, we tend to run away from our problems. We tend to run away from things that we're scared of, which distracts us from the present instead of running towards them. A lot of the time, we just need to face things face on. And that actually promotes us being in the present moment, because when you postpone dealing with things, when you choose to deal with things in the future, you're now making it a future problem. It's now anxiety that is linked to thoughts of the future, instead of just dealing it with the present moment. Because if you think about it, to improve your future, and this is the same thing when you talk about being grateful in the moment and stuff like that, it creates, gratitude creates abundance in the future. So dealing with your problems now reduces the problems in the future. That's why I say, working on your present, in the present moment, indirectly but directly, works on building your future to be something greater and more fruitful for you. Now, the last thing, but not the least, is engagement. Now, engagement is, and I mean this by enhancing your engagement, is by focusing on new things within, the present, within the now. Pick up new things, notice new things about yourself, about the people around you, because when you start to actually practice being conscious, like being actively mindful and conscious about your surroundings, it actually helps you remain in the moment. Simple things like realizing that somebody changed their hair color, noticing that you have, grown a little bit, whatever it might be. Those are activities that, create this mindful and conscious practice that keeps you in the present moment. You are, learning how to pick out things and notice things and become more self-aware and aware of everybody and the things around you. And therefore, you are in the present. And that's just basically, some of the ways that you can really practice being in the present. And these are different, tools and ideas of things you can apply. There's so many other ways. There's so many things you can do to keep you in the present. But these are just some of the things I've picked up and some of the things I do try to actively practice majority of the time. To help me remain in the present moment. Because the truth of the matter is, for a very long time, we've been taught to think of, stuff in regards to our 24-hour clock. And I always say, if things were just as simple as that, there wouldn't really be those moments where you feel time is speeding up and time is slowing down. And that's simply because, there's no true understanding of time. The whole idea and concept of time is just something we have been taught to think is understood, but it's really not. Because we literally would never know if true time, which is universal timing, is actually moving at the speed we claim it is. But I'm not going to dive too deep into that. But with that being said, stay blessed, stay compassionate, be kind, be loving, be mindful, be conscious, and most of all, take care.